Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Arielle Sterling, and I'm so excited to be speaking with you about my top 5 tips for adopting healthy cooking habits. Now, this is something I'm really passionate about. I grew up cooking, loving to eat, and then later having to retrain myself as to how to eat healthfully and properly for my body. I never really grew up eating junk food or processed food, but still I didn't have a connection with my body on a strong enough level to understand what was happening. I was constantly plagued with stomach pains and aches and cramps, so that made doing everyday things very, very challenging for me. Once I learned to harness my diet and what I was putting into my body, that really changed a lot of perspective for me, and it gave me more power and control over my life that I've been searching for a long time. So I'm really excited to share these tips with you today. The first one that I'd like to share with you is start with small, sustainable changes. We always hear the idiom, Rome wasn't built in a day, and it's true. Making big, permanent lifestyle changes isn't going to happen overnight. This isn't something we can just snap our fingers and make happen. What we can do is bring our awareness and attention to it so that we have the ability to make better choices. When you're changing your diet and when you're looking at what you eat, you have to think about the longevity of it. It has to be realistic. That's why fad diets, crash diets don't work. If you do these things, you notice that you do lose the weight, but as soon as you stop, you gain the weight back. So it's not really sustainable for a healthy lifestyle, and putting weight on and taking it off regularly is also not healthy for your body to maintain on a regular basis. So when I'm talking about starting with small, sustainable changes, the number one thing you can do is to replace the items that you have as you use them. So it's not realistic for us to sit here and say, go ahead and clear out your pantry, your freezer, and your fridge and start from scratch. That's just not realistic. That would be very wasteful. And we definitely don't want to waste. We want to honor the food that we have and be grateful that we have all of these items. But how we can bring that in is next time you're out of something, look for a healthier option. Choose something that may give you a little more health benefit or have less chemicals. So for example, if you're somebody who really enjoys the taste of ketchup, that's just not something you're willing to give up. Instead of buying your normal name brand, and we all know they're in the red bottle everywhere, instead of buying that name brand, try an organic brand. Try a brand that isn't using preservatives or chemicals to enhance the flavor. See if you can find something that you still enjoy that's giving you more health benefits, and that's not putting things into your system that we're going to work on having to get out later. Because of course, the cleaner you put in, the better you feel, and the more you get out of your body, because the less it's struggling to work. So my second tip is listen to your body. Know thyself. Know thy triggers. When you're listening to your body, that looks like thinking about what you're eating, how much you're eating, the time of day that you're eating. I'd like you to think of the idea why you're eating 3 square meals a day. This is something that's been ingrained into us as a culture, as a society. Those of us who grew up in the Midwest may understand a Midwestern breakfast is typically a lot of carbs, pancakes, eggs, bacon, toast, oatmeal, all of these things that 100 years ago made perfect sense for people to be eating because they needed to be able to have enough energy in their body to sustain going out and working the fields and working a farm, things like that. So think about why you're eating and what you're eating. Is it realistic for you, your body, to be eating 3 square meals a day? Again, that's going to be dependent on your unique body and your unique situation. I will tell you for myself, there have been times where I have felt the need to eat later in the day, whereas now my body is going towards more of an intermittent diet, meaning I find myself not wanting to eat food in the morning. That's been a long-term thing for me. I've never been able to process food very well in the morning. But eating from about 10 o'clock in the morning to about 6 o'clock at night seems to be what my body is naturally doing. I'm not consciously doing it, but I'm listening to my body, and that right now is what's working best for me. Other things too. I don't eat heavy meals later in the day, because when we eat heavy, when we eat those big meals like we were just talking about with that Midwestern breakfast, that's giving us energy, that's giving us nourishment. It doesn't make sense to eat our heaviest meal right before we're going to bed. We're going to sleep. We don't need that energy. So think about how you're eating, why you're eating. Really start to check in with your body and ask yourself, am I hungry? What am I hungry for? Are you just eating out of habit because we think, oh, it's breakfast time, I need to eat. Oh, it's lunchtime, I need to eat. Oh, it's dinner time, I need to eat. Or are you really stopping to check in with your body and understand what your body's asking for and what it needs? So if you're tired, if you're bloated, if you're feeling gassy, if you feel itchy or cramping in your stomach after eating, these are all signs that your body is trying to give you that whatever you just put into your body doesn't appreciate, your body doesn't like it. So listen to your body, listen to these little idiosyncrasies, because your stomach shouldn't hurt after you eat something. You shouldn't feel bloated. You shouldn't feel extemporaneously gassy. You shouldn't be, gassy for an extended period of time. Another tip, if you find yourself looking for an antacid after you eat, maybe you should think about what you're putting in your body and what's causing that reaction for your body to need the antacid. It's probably something fried, something that's not conducive to your specific system. So again, listen to your body, listen to the clues that it's giving you, and don't just put a Band-Aid on it. Don't just take a pill. Listen and see why your body's being triggered in such a way to have such a result. My third tip, increase your fresh fruit and vegetable intake. So when we're talking about fresh fruits and vegetables, ideally we're going to be picking organic options that are as close to us as possible, coming right out of the ground. Now, some of us may have gardens in our homes or our communities, and we can go there, and that is a great option. That may not be the case, but again, try and find your produce from as close to you as possible. You want to cut down the time that it has been out of the ground and into your mouth. Whenever you have fresh food, of course, the amount of energy decreases as soon as you pull it out of the ground because it is no longer connected to that source. So that's why we want to work on decreasing that amount of time. So again, finding CSAs are a great option if you're not familiar with them. Community supported agriculture is what CSA stands for. Farmers markets are a really great option, again, supporting the local economy, as well as eating food, fresh fruit and vegetables that are seasonal and come from your local area. Of course, we want to try and eat food that is closest to natural as possible. That is not always going to be the case, however, but think about things like spinach. You can have spinach in a salad. You can have spinach in a smoothie or juiced. Now, again, listening to your body, our second tip, there may be times when it doesn't feel good to have raw spinach because it takes more processing for your body. So again, that's something you'll have to listen to. But there's so many options. You can saute your spinach, you can put it in soup, so many different ways to eat that one powerhouse vegetable. So my recommendation is to try and strive for at least adding one fruit or vegetable to every meal in the beginning when you're starting. Again, big changes don't happen overnight, so by adding that one extra fruit or vegetable in a day, and then one extra fruit or vegetable in at every meal and increasing it, you're going to start to see that you are more likely to choose those vegetables in the first place and choose those fruits and healthy options, so as to not overwhelm one at a time. My fourth tip, find swaps that work. So I grew up having a lot of allergies, and I still do have a lot of food allergies. So I have to be very mindful of when I'm looking online for recipes, or if I'm trying to find something specific. Reading labels has definitely been something that has helped me to better understand food and what's in it. So when we talk about finding swaps, again, there's things like allergies. I'm allergic to nuts. So peanuts, tree nuts, it causes anaphylactic shock. If you've never heard of it, it is not pleasant, and I don't want to have to shoot myself with an EpiPen. So of course, I stay away from things that are very highly toxic to me. There are a lot of recipes, though, especially recently, when we talk about vegan food and gluten-free options. Myself, my body doesn't like gluten anymore, so when I look for a recipe, a lot of times I'll see almond flour in a gluten-free recipe. So in my mind, I know, okay, obviously I can't have the almond flour. What can I swap? What can I substitute it for? And there are so many different options. One thing that I found that does seem to work is chickpea flour. Chickpea or garbanzo beans. This flour is used typically in Indian cooking. So a great way to find alternatives is to look at other ethnic foods and other ethnicities to see what types of items they use that you may not be familiar with. In terms of other things that I've found to switch, just an example, again, I look at a lot of vegan recipes and they use cashews a lot. So for me, as somebody who can't eat the cashews, I would substitute something like pumpkin seeds that's going to have that same consistency or the same texture. This can go in any number of things. So if you have an allergy or a sensitivity to a certain type of milk, a lot of people don't eat dairy milk or don't consume dairy milk anymore. There's coconut milk, there's hemp milk. These are both options that we tried in my house that didn't work because I'm allergic to coconut and my partner's allergic to hemp. So we actually finally settled on flax milk, which is good for both of us. So finding what works, finding those little things are really going to help. There may be preferences that you have. In my family, we have what we lovingly call the 3 C's that we stay away from. You're never going to guess what the 3 C's are, so I'm just going to go ahead and tell you. Celery, cilantro, and colonoscopies. While the third one is important, we do try and stay away from all of those if we can help it. So if I find a recipe that uses celery, I'll find another root vegetable that will replace that texture and that place in the recipe. Also, swaps based on availability, your location. I live in Arizona, so if I find a recipe that has nopales, which are cactus, I am very likely to be able to find that in my grocery store. Somebody living on the East Coast, however, may not have as easy access to a specialty ingredient like that. Other things like seasonality. Fruits and vegetables are not meant to be consumed year-round. They are seasonal. So work with what you have. If you are in the mood to bake something and you are used to baking blueberry pie and blueberries aren't in season, great. Find another berry. Find something that is in season. Also your pantry. Sometimes you just may not have what you want to work with and you have all of the ingredients except for that one last ingredient. So find those swaps that work. Find things that you have and that you can keep in your home that help you to build. I found that having a good pantry of ingredients ready to go helps me to conform to whatever I want to do. So having a lot of different seeds and dried fruits, different spices, I probably have 3 or 4 different types of oil and probably double that amount of vinegar. I like to cook, what can I say? The last tip I have for you, number 5, If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Plan ahead. Meals, snacks, beverages, everything. One of the main reasons that we talk about this is that it's the idea of being proactive versus reactive. When you're not planning ahead, it can be difficult to ensure that you have the proper amount of nutrients every single day. But when we are proactive in planning our meals, we know that we're going to get our vegetables in during this meal. And so we're not scrambling to fill those needs after the fact. So without planning ahead, it can kind of leave us in a bit of a lurch when we're trying to figure out what those things are that are going to work best for us every single day. I'm big into meal planning. One of the things that I do every weekend is to cook a big batch of vegetables, typically just roast them in the oven, and then I use them throughout the week in different applications. So sometimes I'll put roasted vegetables on a salad. Other times I will put roasted vegetables with some sauteed spinach and have that for breakfast. I've also been known to cook a big batch of grains at the beginning of the week too. So whether that's rice or quinoa, those are typically the ones that I'll go for. Although I know that I have amaranth in the cabinet and some other fancy grain as well. Those are the two that I typically stick to. So by having the working ingredients ready to go, that stops me from making those choices that I would otherwise make if I'm in a lurch. I'm one of those people that when I'm hungry, I have to eat. There's no lag time for me. So I actually carry snacks with me if I'm out doing errands. I have typically dried mango or some olives that come in a pack from Trader Joe's, for example, and that'll hold me over because I'm not a kind of person who's good at waiting when I'm hungry. When I'm hungry and I need to do something about it. So again, being proactive in having those healthy options so I don't go and throw something in the microwave. I don't go for the quick and easy option. I have those healthful options ready to go. So again, I just want to recap those 5 tips that we talked about so you can start adopting healthy cooking habits for yourself. The first one, start with small sustainable changes. Swap things out as you go. It doesn't have to be a whole big every single time you want to do something to start over new. Just replace items as you are through with them, and that way you can build and it's not overwhelming. Listen to your body. It's talking to you at all times. Are you listening? Number 3, increase your fresh fruit and vegetable intake. By increasing the fresh fruit and vegetable intake, you are always adding. We always want to work on adding and not taking away, because then we feel like we're in a space of lack and we don't want to deprive ourselves. We want to keep on adding in the goodness. 4, find your swaps that work. And 5, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Thank you so much for your time today. I appreciate you spending a little bit with me talking about healthy food habits. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I would love to hear from you and how you are planning on incorporating these tips into your day-to-day routine. If you'd like more information, you can always visit my website, ariellesterling.com, or find me on Facebook, facebook.com/ariellesterlingauthor. And feel free to join my own group as well. It's called the Empathic Emporium. Every week we do live feeds. I pull cards sometimes. We have a great time together, and I'd love for you to join us. Thank you again so much for your time, and I will talk to you soon.